Welcome back to the dialogue, The Father You Didn't Have. In today's episode, we explore why attachment and authenticity often conflict, how attachment styles form, and how healing begins through presence, accepting, compassion, forgiveness, and simple practices that help the nervous system learn safety again. Let's begin.
Hello, how are you? I really value our conversations because I've noticed that something has changed in my relationships, or something has changed in me in a way that has affected my relationships. And it feels good because I'm able to be more like the person I actually want to be, and what used to feel difficult has become more understandable. Would it be okay if we continue from where we left off last time?
It's good to see you. I'm doing okay, and I'd be glad to continue. What we're talking about is the foundation for you to feel good within yourself and in your relationships. I often wonder why we weren't taught these things in school as naturally as we're taught to read. We don't know much about our future. Big changes lie ahead, but one thing is certain: we need to learn how to get along with each other and with ourselves. We need better tools to handle difficult situations, both in our own lives and in our relationships. So, go ahead. I'd love to hear your first question, your thoughts, or what you've been reflecting on.
You spoke of two needs that can pull us apart: attachment and authenticity. Why do they conflict so often?
Because both are essential. Attachment is our need for connection and safety with others, to belong, to be liked, to receive support, and to feel I'm not alone. At its core, attachment asks, am I safe with you? In its most primitive form it says, I need you to survive. Authenticity is our need to be true to ourselves, to feel what we feel, want what we want, speak honestly, and live in line with our values. It asks, am I true to myself? It says, I need to be myself to live. The balance is when you can stay connected and stay yourself at the same time. But when a relationship feels unsafe, many of us automatically protect attachment because losing connection feels like a threat, and we sacrifice authenticity to keep the bond. And little by little, we can lose ourselves in the process.
When you put it like this, I need you to survive, versus, I need to be myself to live, it makes the conflict so vivid and easy to understand. So when I hide my real feelings to keep peace or avoid rejection, that's me choosing attachment over authenticity.
Yes. You trade your truth for belonging. But over time, that belonging feels hollow because it's built on fear rather than real connection or safety and acceptance. Real closeness can only exist where both truth and love are welcome.
The way you describe belonging built on fear really shows why it feels hollow later. It's such an important insight. Can those patterns change? Or are they fixed once we learn them as children?
They can change, slowly, gently, with awareness. The nervous system learns safety through repetition, not logic. Every time you stay present and experience safety, even when you want to hide or react, or when you speak honestly and you're not rejected or left alone because of your honesty, especially when you'd normally try to please, you're teaching your body again that authenticity is safe.
It gives so much hope to hear that the nervous system can change and learns through repetition. It makes change feel gradual but possible. And the different attachment styles, secure, avoidant, anxious, disorganized, do they come from how we were met as children?
Indeed. Think of attachment style as your default setting in relationships when you feel stressed, unsure, or afraid of losing someone. Secure. I can be close to you and still be myself. You trust, you talk things through, and after conflict you can calm down and reconnect. Avoidant. I'm fine on my own. When things get too close or emotionally heavy, you pull back, go quiet, and need space. Anxious. Are you still there? Do you still care? You look for reassurance, worry easily, and you may cling or chase closeness when you feel uncertain. Disorganized. I want you close, but it doesn't feel safe. You swing between reaching for closeness and pushing it away, because closeness triggers both longing and fear. And remember, none of these are bad personalities. They're often survival strategies we learned when we were younger. They are reflections of how safety once felt, or didn't. But they're not life sentences. They're maps of adaptation. And every map can be redrawn when presence, caring, patience, and awareness return.
Calling them maps of adaptation makes the whole idea far less rigid. It feels gentle and hopeful. That gives me hope. So healing isn't about becoming someone new, it's about remembering who we were before the fear, or before we lost the emotional support we needed.
Absolutely. Healing is remembrance and to come home to your authentic self. It's coming home to the parts of yourself that had to hide to survive. Not fixing, just welcoming them anew back, one breath or step at a time. Before we go deeper, may I ask you something? When you think of those who couldn't meet your emotional needs, what do you feel inside?
I feel both anger and sadness. Part of me still wants to be seen, to hear someone say, "I'm sorry." But another part of me feels guilty for even wanting that.
That's very human. Forgiveness begins with allowing both truths, the anger and the longing. You don't have to choose one over the other.
You've spoken about writing a letter, one that's never sent. Why does that help?
Because it gives voice to what has long been silent. It lets the inner child speak without fear of consequence. Expression is liberation, and when truth is spoken, even on paper, something within you exhales. But it's important that you're truly honest and express everything you have inside you. Don't hold back your words, find new ones if the old ones aren't enough. Don't leave anything unspoken. Write as if this were your last chance to express yourself. Let it come out so fully that you can feel it all the way down in your tailbone, in your spine. The idea is that you get to express yourself for real, without having to be afraid that someone will blame you for it or attack you in return. You get to speak, maybe for the first time, in complete safety. Just focus on staying in contact with what you feel and what you've kept inside. Now it's your turn to be seen and heard, completely and unconditionally.
So it's not about blaming, but about freeing what's been trapped?
Definitely. Blame chains you to the past. Truth spoken with compassion releases you from it. It says, "This happened, and I survived, and I am allowed to be."
And then you talked earlier about the second letter, that I write to the part of myself that suffered. And everything I write here in this letter, and everything I have been through, will be met by me with only understanding and compassion, no judgment, no criticism, absolutely none. Only understanding and compassion. This one feels harder.
Yes, because it asks for tenderness toward yourself. Many of us can feel compassion for others, but not for our own pain. This letter is an act of reparenting, of saying to yourself, I see you. I believe you. You did your best and your suffering was real.
Why does forgiving ourselves feel so impossible sometimes?
Because guilt can feel safer than grief. If you blame yourself, you still feel some control. But to forgive yourself means facing powerlessness and helplessness, the truth that some things were not in your hands.
You said that without self-forgiveness, it's hard to reconnect with the safety in ourselves. How does that work?
When you forgive yourself, you stop fighting and questioning your own being. Your nervous system relaxes. You allow belonging, not as something to earn, but as something you already deserve and are.
And once I can forgive myself, I can start to forgive others?
Yes. True forgiveness of others grows naturally from inner forgiveness. It's not a moral demand, but a quiet recognition. They, too, acted from their wounds, forgiveness, and from what they had not received, not from wholeness.
I notice that every time I try to forgive, old memories return. Does that mean I haven't healed enough?
No, it means the healing is deepening. Each memory that returns is another part of you asking for warmth and understanding. Forgiveness is not forgetting, it's remembering without tightening, shame or blame.
You often remind me to practice, to actually do the exercises, not just think about them. Why is that so important?
Because the mind alone cannot heal the heart. Cognitive understanding is only the doorway. You must go through it, dare to meet it, by breathing, staying present, feeling, writing, letting go of your defenses, accepting, and meeting yourself with unconditional understanding and compassion. That's how new pathways are formed, in both the brain and the soul.
So healing is not about speed, but about presence, contact, and honesty?
Indeed. Healing doesn't hurry. It unfolds in stillness, when you stay and remain in contact, when you breathe, when you refuse to abandon yourself again, and when you gently let go of the old version of you believed you were, the old habits and survival strategies you once needed to survive. Because what we often call for myself can actually be our ingrained patterns, old ways of thinking and behaving that we learned to survive. And the biggest danger to our well-being is when being ourselves means clinging to those old habits as if they were who we truly are. Every small act of humble honesty, concerning who we truly are, and every choice to be a little more authentic and vulnerable, is a return home.
Your words give presence and honesty such a gentle weight, it feels like an invitation rather than a demand.
Before we end today, my son, I'd like to share a few gentle practices from this chapter, ways to reconnect with your inner safety and the caring that's always been there. Would you like that?
Yes. I'd really appreciate that. Sometimes I understand the ideas, but I don't know how to live them.
That's exactly what these practices are for. They help the heart remember what the mind forgets.
I like how you put it, that the heart remembers what the mind forgets. It makes these practices feel truly meaningful.
The first one is simple, a quiet check-in. Before entering a situation that might feel demanding or feel scary, pause and ask, "What do I need right now?" It sounds small, but it reconnects you to your truth.
So it's about noticing my needs before reacting, trying to solve or just survive.
Yes. When you're aware of your needs, you can be who you truly are, and you don't have to demand anything. You can express your needs softly and clearly, without fear or shame, and do what you need to do without abandoning yourself just to earn approval.
It's comforting to hear that simply knowing my needs can make expressing them softer and freer, and give me more space to be who I am.
The second practice is about being deeply safe and loved. When you feel triggered or threatened, ask yourself, if I felt completely safe and loved right now, how would I respond?
That question alone feels powerful. It shifts something inside, like it gives me a wider view.
Very good. It helps you respond from love, not from fear. From your essence, not your defenses.
The contrast you make, responding from essence rather than defenses, helps me feel the depth of this practice.
The third one is about safe presence and learning to hold your feelings, your shame, and your needs. It's about how you can tolerate being with yourself, create contact and stay in contact, and it's called eye contact for 30 minutes. Sit down with someone you trust, facing each other, close enough to feel a shared presence. Simply look into each other's eyes and share connection and presence, without words. Stay curious about what the other person might be feeling. And in the same way, without words, let your own feelings be seen. Convey what you're experiencing in that shared moment.
That sounds uncomfortable.
It often is at first. Shame may rise, or the urge to look away or talk. But if you stay, even a few seconds or minutes longer, you begin to feel seen. And that's profoundly healing.
The way you describe staying just a little longer, even when it's uncomfortable, makes the practice feel both challenging and deeply worthwhile. What if I don't have someone I feel safe enough to do that with?
Then start with your own reflection in a mirror. Meet your gaze in the mirror. Gently. With full presence. Whisper to yourself, "I see you. You're allowed to be here, and you are worthy." That's where self-acceptance begins.
Hearing you say you're allowed to be here gives the mirror practice a surprising warmth. It feels less daunting when framed that way.
The fourth practice, the hand on your heart. Whenever you rest, alone or with someone dear, place your hand over your heart and remind yourself, "I am enough. I am allowed to receive caring and love."
I've tried that once, it made me emotional.
That's a good sign. It means the wall around your heart is softening. Tears are how safety returns.
The image of tears as safety returning makes the emotion feel like a gentle opening rather than a weakness.
The fifth practice, reflection together. Once a week, maybe on a Friday evening after the work week, talk with someone close to you. Ask, when did I feel safer with you this week? Or what did you do or say that helped me feel loved?
That sounds like a beautiful way to build connection. Even just thinking about it makes me feel warmer.
When safety is named, it grows.
That line stays with me. When safety is named, it grows. It gives language such a nurturing role.
And there's one more, the mirror practice in its fuller form. Stand before a mirror, look at your reflection and into your eyes, and with full presence say, I love you. Don't rush it. Let yourself mean it, and let it touch something inside you.
That one feels almost impossible. But maybe that's why it's needed.
Exactly. When love feels hardest to give yourself, that's when your heart needs it most.
Your words make the difficulty feel like a signpost rather than a barrier, like the heart is pointing to where the healing is.
These practices are not about performance. They're about returning, again and again, to gentleness, caring, honesty, and presence. Healing doesn't come from doing them perfectly, but from doing them sincerely.
So it's more like a way of living than a task to complete.
Yes, my son. It's about remembering, with each breath, that you are allowed to exist, to feel, and to be loved.
The way you frame it, as remembering with each breath, makes healing feel continuous and compassionate. Father, thank you for all of this. Every time we talk, I feel like I understand life, and myself, a little better.
That's all I could ever hope for. And if you, or anyone listening, wish to explore these ideas more deeply, you can find the Love Unconditionally Handbook on YouTube. It's free, and it's there for everyone.
Before we stop, are there any last words you'd want me to carry with me?
Indeed. Be patient with your heart, your shortcomings, and your wounds. Your heart and your vulnerable side may have been without safety and unconditional acceptance for a long time. And remember, every act of tenderness toward yourself is also a form of love toward the world. And if you wish to be loved, life is giving you a chance to practice loving toward yourself and others. If you need safety and acceptance, life is giving you a chance to be accepting and safe for yourself and someone else. Who is the most important person in your life? I'm actually asking you this question. Can you pause for a moment and reflect? Who is the most important person in your life? It is, of course, the person whose company you are in right now. Because you don't know whether you'll meet anyone else, or even get to see this person again. If there is one thing I hope you remember from what you've listened to, let it be this great wisdom from William Arthur Ward. When we seek to discover the best in others, we somehow bring out the best in ourselves. Let me say it once more, because it's among the wisest things I have heard. When we seek to discover the best in others, we somehow bring out the best in ourselves. We so easily take it for granted that we have time. But the only thing we truly have is this moment. And how you relate to this moment, or who you chose to be in this very moment, may be one of the most important ingredients in the life you have, and the life you are going to create and get.
And if these conversations touch something in you, it would mean a lot if you give a comment. subscribed, and press the like button. It helps these dialogues reach others who might need them too. Thank you for being here with us.